What's up, guys? Cody here. Today I want to take a look at my favorite champion in the game, Bard. Bard has been my favorite champion in the game ever since he came out. He was the first new champion to be released after I started playing League, and I just loved him as a character. He's so much fun to play, and the style for him is right up my alley for how I like to play my supports. Aggressive and roam heavy. So, for landing phase for Bard, we're going to start Q. This is going to give Bard a really strong level 1. If you can get a stun off of a minion onto the enemy champion, or as long as you can just really land your Q on the enemy in some fashion, and then get an auto attack off, it's going to deal a good chunk of their health, probably about a third of their health. And if you're especially going up against a melee support champion, you can very easily gain control over the lane and get an easy level 2 advantage on the enemy. Level 2, we're going to take our W, and this is really just for sustain purposes. Your W on Bard doesn't heal anywhere as near as much as what other champions would have for healing. Pretty much during the laning phase, you're just going to have your shrine sitting back behind you and your ADC, and when you guys get low, you just go and pick them up. Level 3, you can put another point into your Q if you want to do a bit more damage, or you can put a point into your E. Once you have your E on Bard, you can do a nice little play where if you're getting pushed in, you can fake to ward or roam, and you will go to your tri-bush. However, you then tunnel in with your jungler from the tri-bush, and you get a free gank off pretty much. This only really works 1 or 2 times against people before they catch on like, oh, we gotta be careful and not be so close to the walls anymore. But it is something that works out pretty effectively. Once you hit level 6 on Bard, you're pretty much going to be using your ult as a catch tool in the laning phase. Just call your jungler over, put your ult down on someone that doesn't have a dash pretty much, and it should be a free kill. Or at least a flash. So when it comes to Bard and roaming and picking up chimes, generally speaking, a lot of new people starting to play Bard just kind of go and get them whenever they feel like. That's not what you should be doing. On Bard, the only time that you should be picking up a chime is if it's one really close to your lane and you need mana, so you're just gonna go and get that real fast. But aside from that, you should really only be getting it if you're coming back from base and then you can get chimes in the jungle, or if you're going around warding, or if you're roaming to mid lane. That's the only time you should ever be worried about getting chimes during the beginning of the game. As the laning phase ends, try to get as much vision as you can in the enemy jungle. This is going to be the easiest place for you to catch out people as Bard, as the jungle has lots of walls for Bard to make use of with his Q. Also, continue to look for ways to capitalize on people pushing too far out by themselves, whether it be tunneling you and your teammates in through a nearby wall to go and surprise them and get them, or ulting them to keep them in place while everyone collapses on them. In a team fight, pretty much you're using your Q to stun who's ever walking up to you or your carries. Your W is really just for a speed boost more than it is for health. And then we have the trickiest part of Bard, and that is ulting in the team fight. Generally speaking, your ult is to remove people from the fight for a certain amount of time. So in the case of maybe a 5v5, an effective ult for Bard would probably be getting 2 or 3 members of the enemy team in it. So that way, the rest of your team can kill whoever wasn't ulted. It's a very tricky thing to learn how to use properly, as if you screw up, then you could potentially be throwing your game. But pretty much, avoid hitting your team with it and just try to hit the enemy team with it if you're going to use it. If you don't feel like there's any good point that you can use it in a team fight, then don't worry. You can always use it at the end of a fight to pick off stragglers. Generally speaking though, the best time to get a good Bard ult off during a teamfight will be right as the fight begins, as that's when people are most likely to be grouped up together. As for other uses for Bard's ult that I haven't addressed, you can use it to dive someone under tower, which is a very effective tool. Just try not to hit the person you're diving with the ult. And you can also use it to interrupt Baron and Dragon, as this is a really effective way to screw over the enemy team and potentially wipe them out and take the objective as well. For runes on Bard, I like to run a simple AP page, running AP Quints, Magic Pen Reds, MR Blues, and Armor Seals. For Masteries on Bard, everyone goes 0, 18, 12, running Thunderlords as their keystone. The reason why we don't run Windspeakers on Bard is because Bard only has one healing ability out of everything that he does, and it's not even really that good. It only becomes noticeable for the amount of healing that it does when you start putting points into it, and we max this second, and it's not really something that we care about on Bard. The team fight, our objective is not to heal people, our objective is to CC people. So instead we take Thunderlords. Thunderlords gives us a really strong gating phase, and gives us a little bit of extra damage in team fights. For items on Bard, for starting items, we're going to get a Spell Thieves, and then we're going to get a Frostbank or a Sight Stone based upon how much money you have, and then build into Mobility Boots. From here, you have to decide whether or not you want Frost Queens or you want Eye of the Watchers. Generally speaking, I like getting Eye of the Watchers because I like having an extra slot on Bard for another item. Frost Queens, though, is useful for snowballing a game and getting picks easier. After that, I like getting Night's Vow, Locket, Redemption, in that order. I like getting these items because, one, I think they're good, and two, a lot of other strong support items focus on healing, and that's not Bard's main priority. The reason why I get Redemption last out of these three items is because I think Redemption has less value than Night's Vow and Locket, since Bard does not take Windspeakers, so Redemption doesn't heal for as much. As for last item on Bard, as usual, I will avoid picking up my last item until I can buy it all at once because I want to have control wards in my inventory. But for when I do pick up my item, Randuin's is pretty good for extra tank. Banshees is good if the enemy has a lot of CC, and Mikhail's is always a really decent choice. So that's going to be it for Bard, guys. I know he's not exactly meta right now, but that's only because he doesn't abuse Ardent Censor like a bunch of other supports do. But hey, I still love him, and I still think he can carry games. If you enjoyed, remember to like and subscribe, and comment below about Bard or about any other champions you want to see me do a guide for. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.